Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. Today we have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt and yogi Tarah Rocha. Welcome, Tarah.
Thank you so much, Kim and Anton. Great to be here.
Thank you so much. So you're a purple belt. I'm a purple belt as well. It's my favorite belt so far. It keeps getting better for me. But what's your experience of purple belt so far?
Yeah, I would have to say the same. I love purple belt. This is where I feel like I'm doing a deep dive into concepts and guard and so much that I've been exploring ever since I started jiu-jitsu. But yeah, I love what's happening at purple.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I totally relate to that. 100%.
Yeah.
And Tarah, you've just come back from Melbourne, from a spot on the Australian Girls in Gi Melbourne camp, and you're about to participate in the winter camp with Ari, Hope, Levi, and Taliesin. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on an amazing camp tour with jiu-jitsu and yoga at the moment. So with Australian Girls in Gi, there's been an incredible lineup of camps around Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. And it's just been so fantastic to reconnect with friends, all along the East Coast that I haven't been able to see or train with since before COVID. The camps have just been incredible. Melbourne was amazing, such a great atmosphere, and yeah, really great to see all the girls getting on the mat from all over Victoria, and some came down from Canberra and Sydney as well, and Wollongong. And next weekend, we've got the New Wave at Byron, which is actually at my gym at the academy where I train and where I teach yoga. As you mentioned, with Hope, Ari, Taliesin, and Levi. So that's going to be just incredible. And it's sort of a camp that goes from Friday to Monday with lots of seminars, yoga sessions, and also like really cool social activities and dinners and things in between as well. And the weather's still really nice here too, so it's still kind of beach surf time for anyone that wants to come along. Yeah.
Wow,
Awesome.
that's incredible. Like you just painted an amazing picture. I'm there with you. Actually, yeah, we didn't really talk with Hope and Ari about how much this camp costs. But do you know how much it costs? Are you across the numbers? Is it like?
Yeah, so there are just a few tickets left actually for the New Wave, and I can find out now how much the tickets are because there was an early bird ticket price, but they sold out. So
When people can sell out a camp, I think that's so cool for our
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's really awesome. It's great that events are back, and we're inspired by them.
Yeah, totally. Maybe I'll find out the price and tell you guys. But yeah, there are just a few tickets left to the Byron camp. And we also have some camps coming up with Australian Girls in Gi as well in Sydney and Brisbane. Wow. And they're all really affordable because the camp format is, great for people that live in the area or that want to come and stay together in an Airbnb or get their own accommodation and sort of just come along to the camp sessions. So
yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the main reasons we want to have you on, quite a number of our guests have talked, especially recently, about how yoga has really helped them with their jiu-jitsu. So we thought we'd go straight to the source, to one of the best and most famous jiu-jitsu / yogi in Australia. So yeah, what can you tell us about this? Like, what's the connection between the two? Like, what should people be doing?
Yeah, so for me, this is a journey that started, when I was a child. Like I've been doing yoga for 23 years and jiu-jitsu for 7.5 now. And so yoga has really been like my long-term practice, and it's just so embedded in my life for over 2 decades. And then when I discovered jiu-jitsu, I guess, they're both ancient forms of movement that, have evolved like through all of the countries that jiu-jitsu has gone through, in its history, just like yoga with its origins in India. So I really love to create yoga sequences and practices that are really fantastic for recovery for jiu-jitsu. And I also teach yoga mobility as like pre-warm-up as well.
Mm.
And I think, yeah, the best thing about it is it's sort of, as a recovery practice, being able to calm the nerves and, you know, de-stress after training and relax the nervous system. That's the biggest thing for myself and for all of my students and everyone that I meet and teach as well. So really being able to like regulate the body and the mind and the breath. And I think that really helps with active recovery. So I think that for me is the biggest connection, really being able to like activate my recovery as soon as I finish training with yoga.
Yeah.
And I pretty much do that every day. I train Monday to Friday. I do yoga every day. And I teach lots of classes as well. Yeah.
Right. And do you like, I mean, yoga sounds great, as you said, as a recovery, but it sounds like with this kind of lowering of the vibration, so to speak, it could be good for pre-comp as well. Like just about, you know, a lot of people suffer, myself included, for a long time, incredibly nervous before matches, etc. Like, do you think that there's a place for yoga, for example, as part of comp day preparation? Yeah, is that something that you see as valid?
Yeah, definitely. I know that I definitely use that for myself. So all of my competitions, like starting competing at white belt, I had a lot of anxiety and a lot of nerves, and I'm generally a really calm person. So it was so interesting to go through that journey, starting to compete at white belt and feeling really sick before competitions, and then coming back to my toolkit and going, hang on, I've got some tools that I can use to you know, to calm down and regulate. And and then as I competed more and going into my first competition last year as purple belt, just before the COVID wave hit, I definitely find myself like meditating before competing, doing, you know, breathing practices like pranayama, meditation, and then also like a mobility warm-up, sun salutations, like mixing it all in together. So for myself personally, it definitely helps. And I know lots of other people that use those tools, it helps as well. So it's really good for calming the nerves, you know, before and after training and competing.
Awesome.
Yeah. And tell us about like just yoga in general. What are the basic forms of it? Like, I know, for example, I do Bikram yoga, which is hot yoga, and I know that's quite extreme, but there are, I think about 5 or 6 sort of general yogas, or is that right? What can you tell us about those and how they differ?
Yeah. So there are probably there are over 100 styles of yoga. There are so many. So I'm trained originally in Hatha yoga. So that's one of the sort of predominant forms of yoga that's come to the West. And I did my training in Sydney, and then I also went to India and did training, like further training there, and a yoga ashram, you know, at the source. And since then, over the last 11 years that I've been a yoga teacher, so I did my first training 11 years ago, I've done numerous trainings like every year post doing my first teacher training. So I'm trained in lots of different styles, and there are so many out there, like so many fantastic different forms of yoga. So the ones that I mainly do are Hatha yoga, restorative, and yin yoga, which Hatha is like a dynamic style of yoga, but it's suitable and can be modified for all body types, you know, for everyone. And then you've got restorative and yin yoga, which is a much slower, static style of yoga, which is also really restorative and great post-training. And I also specialize in partner yoga, elements of acro yoga, so really using 2 bodies together. And yeah, if you see, yeah.
Sounds
I've got,
but also a lot of fun.
Yeah, so acro and partner yoga are really fantastic, and they can be really dynamic and like really warming styles of yoga, or they can be more restorative as well. And I also specialize in Thai yoga massage, which is a blend of yoga and massage together, where I do lots of adjustments on people and while they're lying down or seated, or if I'm flying them, sort of moving and adjusting and massaging as well. So those are like the main styles that I practice and teach. But I've actually done so many different trainings over the years to add on to my, you know, yoga elements that I teach and my yoga concept. But it all comes from India originally, and you know, it dates back like thousands of years, according to the ancient texts of yoga, and the physical practice that people see and, you know, conceive yoga to be is like one form of yoga. So there are many different forms, including more about the mind, you know, meditation, the breath, pranayama, the study and research of like the ancient texts and all of the concepts of yoga. So like more the theory of yoga. And it also goes into elements of something called Ayurveda, which is more about the lifestyle. So like your sleeping patterns, what you eat. And I really try to, you know, bring all of those elements into my life in a modern day sense, because I don't live in a cave. Like, you know, I'm in the world, in the modern world, but I do really try to bring all those elements in and see how I can create more balance in my life through, you know, all of the elements of yoga, all of the limbs of yoga.
It sounds to me like I've got this visual of you, right? And you're like adjusting people and you're totally zen and you're moving and you're down with dogs and saluting and doing all that. And you're like, I need more violence in my life. I'm going to take a BJJ. Like, how the hell, or like, what was it? Like, how did you kind of go from this state of restoration and healing and health to violence? Like, where's between those two?
So, yeah, well, as Kim said, so Kim, you do Bikram, which is like a really like fast, hot, dynamic style of yoga. So I used to practice a hot style of yoga and Ashtanga yoga when I was a tween and teenager. So I did that all through school at a yoga studio where I grew up. So the first type of yoga that I did as a teenager was a really hot, dynamic, like, you know, sweaty yoga. And that's fantastic as well, like especially if you're in cooler climates. If you want that to be something as part of like your fitness regime as well, it's so amazing. And then I was more introduced to like the restorative practices and hatha yoga in my late teens and in my early 20s, and then started my teacher trainings in those forms. But I've actually been obsessed with martial arts since I was a child. So I think all of the gentle arts and, you know, these traditions that come from Asia, like I've just loved all of them. I grew up with you know, different family members doing striking martial arts. My mum did striking, like boxing and Muay Thai. My stepdad was a 4th Dan black belt in karate, and my brother-in-law also a brown belt in karate. So I had like martial arts around me growing up, and a really powerful mum as well that really encouraged me to try everything. and so I did. I tried lots of martial arts. Like I tried Taekwondo, karate, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Kung Fu, Wushu, Tai Chi with swords. Like I did it all. And at the end of the day, I just, striking really wasn't for me. So I just really didn't like getting punched in the face or, you know, or kicked in the stomach. And then when I was in my late 20s, I discovered jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and actually Gracie jiu-jitsu to be more specific. So I walked into Best and Gracie Newcastle, I did a trial class and just found my passion. There was a martial art that could teach me self-defense, you know, make me fit. So because I loved training, like I love weight training and running and, you know, lots of different forms of fitness. So it just felt really complementary. And a lot of the movements, you know, being a ground-based martial art really resonated with me, because yoga also mimics like animal movements, and a lot of it is floor-based. So some of my yoga classes, you won't even move up off your hands and knees or your back. You know, you can do a whole session with me that's very grounded and down on the floor and animalistic. So so I really loved that element, and I just found my passion for jiu-jitsu from day one and have never stopped since. So
awesome. I think before I met you as the yogi at the Australian Girls and Geek camps, I think I came about you from your Instagram account, where you have got probably the most extensive travel history of anyone I know. Like, your account was just you traveling kind of the world over and over. Can you tell us some of the places that you've been or some of your stories? Because there's surely lots.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been really fortunate and worked really hard to sort of get myself in a position where I can travel the world and do what I love. So I started with my main career previously working on Hayman Island, actually, like working for the island as their buyer and for the retail, and also doing wellness programs for them. And they would send me to Asia. So I got to go to China and Hong Kong a lot. And that's actually where I started getting into different striking martial arts when I was over there. And trying out everything, being a big fan of Bruce Lee as a child. So it was cool to explore countries around Asia, China and Hong Kong. And then for the last 4 years, up until last year, I was managing an international yoga business. And I spent probably 5 months of the year broken up into separate trips, traveling the world and teaching yoga courses and teaching yoga events. And, you know, the first thing I would pack was my gi, and I would get in touch with like the BJJ Globetrotters, and I ended up actually teaching at their camps, teaching yoga at their camps overseas as well. Once I was introduced to them from BJJ Globetrotters Copenhagen camp. Yeah, and I just basically globetrotted around the world for, probably like the last 7 or 8 years with my work, and just took my work with me. And some of the most amazing places I think I've been able to go with yoga and also to train jiu-jitsu have been Mexico City. So I spent 2 weeks there training with like an amazing team in Mexico and teaching a yoga course there. I've been to Russia, to Moscow and St. Petersburg twice, and trained with Ludus team and Moscow BJJ, who are just so amazing. And sort of teaching yoga all over the city and yoga courses there, all over Europe. I've spent a couple of trips in New York as well, training with Marcelo Garcia and his team. And that's been really phenomenal. So many places. I love travel. I absolutely love travel and adventure, and I'm so grateful that, you know, my work and my passions have taken me overseas to these places. It's just been so amazing. Absolutely. And a lot of people have been asking me, like, am I missing, you know, all the adventure and travel? And like, yes, definitely. I have so many amazing friends overseas and I miss those experiences, but I feel like I'm really taking advantage of these amazing local experiences that we're creating with the camps in Australia. And it's actually getting me to, you know, cities I haven't been to, like Canberra. I spent 4 days in Canberra for a camp and loved that. Down to Melbourne. So more interstate travel this year.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like, I'm really keen to know, because you obviously, that's an amazing lifestyle. It sounds like the dream. Is there any downside to any of this, or to carve out the perfect life? Like, what's hard about your life? Is there any time where you go, holy shit, I just wish I was just like not traveling anymore? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I can't even imagine what it's like to be you. But is there any downside? Because I want to hear if there's a downside.
I guess, you know, like having really amazing connections and friendships in places and leaving that is always a bit hard. And especially now, not knowing when I can go and, you know, see my amazing friends that live overseas and train in these places. And so that's definitely one of the downsides, you know, being so far away from people that I've just established like beautiful friendships with around the world. I spent a lot of time in London the last 5 years, going over like twice a year and spending a good few weeks each time training at Roger Gracie London, and, you know, forming like amazing friendships with the team there and in other places as well. So that's definitely something hard. And then leaving my husband and friends here for, you know, massive periods. So at that end as well. So like, leaving people behind. But, you know, knowing that, I mean, before it was easy just to jump on a plane, like book a flight the week before and you'd be on the other side of the world. And obviously that's stopped right now. So it's like on pause. So I'm definitely really grateful to be in Australia during this time as well. And, you know, I've been training. I trained all through COVID. Like we turned our lounge room into a jiu-jitsu academy during COVID last year. We bought mats and so we kept training the whole time. But yeah, just missing people from overseas or my friends. That's probably, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
And switching tacks here, getting back to the yoga. So people who are listening, who perhaps can't get to one of your camps, what can they do for yoga, who are jiu-jitsu people who are, pretty crippled, pretty stiff and sore? What would you recommend? Like, how often should people be doing yoga? Can you suggest any, say, websites or links or whatever that people could go to?
Yeah, definitely. If anyone's interested in like what I'm doing, I have 6 classes I created on my YouTube channel last year that are available and free, for people to do, that are suitable for jiu-jitsu and nice for either mobility or cool down, warm down. There are so many awesome resources online, so many amazing programs, and there are just yoga studios like all over Australia that I would recommend people try. I think just adding in yoga to your life, yoga and meditation is so fantastic. And as you get older, it's also thinking about how much time you're spending in your activity and your exercise and your training, and then how much recovery you do as well. So like yoga is one of the forms of recovery that I do, but I've got like a little a ritual of recovery items that I do. So I love saunas and ice baths. So that's something that I do a lot. So I was doing that yesterday in Melbourne with Jess and Laura after the camp down at Peninsula Hot Springs. We did like fire and ice there. And up here, I go to recovery centers. And so I do yoga every day, but I also do like other recovery methods. And I think it's like really thinking about how much time you're spending in your training, doing your physical activity, when you're physical with your body, whether it be work or exercise, and then counterbalancing that with recovery practices. Mm-hmm. So even, it doesn't even need to be like a long yoga practice, but doing a little bit every day or at least 3 times a week will be so fantastic for your jiu-jitsu, for your body, for your recovery, and also just for longevity. I really feel like I avoid and heal from injury like really quickly compared to people that don't have these practices, because I see it around me a lot. And it's just so great to have like mobility, to have strong joints, and to work on your real active recovery after training.
I've been getting a bit of support with stretching lately. I've got a friend, he kind of specializes in stretching for mobility, and I discovered, right, in these sessions with him that I actually have like a shoulder issue that I've been pretending I don't have. Like I'd go to bed every night with like a tingling, burning shoulder, right? And I just come to, I was like, okay, this is my life. This is how I'm going to spend the rest of my life, but I'm not going to stop training BJJ. I'm not going to stop. Anyway, I have like these 3 sessions once a week over 3 weeks. There's no more pain, right? But I guess my question for you is, there's no tingling or anything, like it's all gone, and it's just because I hang off a bar and lock bits out in different ways, etc. I guess you're seeing people all the time who are like not even aware that they're putting up with something, and yet their life is so blocked or so kind of disconnected in some areas because of their physical well-being. Like, is that something that I just did not even know I had a shoulder issue? I was so numb. I was just so busy trying to get on with my life. Do you know what I'm saying here? And
that happens a lot. Yeah, definitely. And often I feel like sometimes I feel like we hold pain in our body for so many reasons. So sometimes it is because, because of a submission, that someone's done on you, or something being pulled or squashed or whatever it is at training, a takedown, landing wrong. Like it can be so many reasons, but sometimes it's also just those imbalances, like always doing, something on one side, like De La Riva on one side, always subbing on one side, and repping that like 1,000 times, it's definitely going to create an imbalance. So yoga is really about bringing things back into balance. That's the biggest thing for me with yoga. It's like we do everything in yoga on both sides, right side, left side, back to the center of the body. So that's how, every yoga practice basically is. So it's kind of about bringing everything back into the center. And and I think that we also hold things like you're saying about your shoulder, like that so many things could have manifested that in your life.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can hold pain and, you know, hold things in our body for a long time.
Yeah.
So I find yoga and sauna is really great for that. Like saunas are a really great way for me to let go of holding things in my body, let my muscles really relax, have an amazing sweat. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And can you talk at all about meditation? Like you briefly touched on it. I know myself, I was right into meditation last year and unfortunately I've sort of dropped off. So yeah, what can you tell our listeners about it? Like how could they start to get into it? Because it is quite difficult. It is quite hard to still your mind. Have you got any tips and tricks about
Yeah,
that?
definitely. I'd recommend if you're wanting to add a meditation into your life or into your daily practice, you can start off with a small meditation and do a guided meditation. So just search, you know, guided meditations. There are so many guided meditations available on YouTube. And, you know, scripted or videos or audio recordings that you can listen to. Lots of great books about it as well. Yeah, and actually do guided meditations. So let someone talk you through, you know, your body, your mind. Visualizations are fantastic as well. And then, you know, once you really develop a strong meditation practice, that's where you can more sit with yourself and go into trying to clear the mind, you know, being silent, or using tools for sensory deprivation. So for example, I meditate in the sauna. So I book a sauna, I go in, I turn all the lights out, and then I actually do like a, you know, 30-40 minute meditation in there. So yeah, it's like intense but amazing. And float tanks, I also meditate in float tanks too. So I love using elements, water, fire, you know, heat, cold. Like I feel like that really helps me to relax and come into a meditative state. But yeah, guided meditations, visualizations, or using the elements. I do a lot of meditation outside as well. So like sitting, you know, on the beach or on the grass or under a tree, and just closing your eyes. And really to start with, meditation is quite simple when you're not so concerned about clearing your mind. So meditation can begin by simply like having good posture, sitting down wherever you are, and just noticing your breath. So closing your eyes, noticing your breath coming in and out of your nostrils, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing, you know, the parts of the body that are seated and connecting to where you are. And then you can do a visualization while you're meditating as well. So take your mind to a happy place, take your mind to somewhere that you feel safe, secure, you know, somewhere that you love to go on holidays, and think about that. And that will change your state and, you know, really bring you into the present moment. Or you can just focus on your sensations. And yeah, I'm going to definitely offer some like yoga programs and meditations and like yoga specific for jiu-jitsu on my website as well, and like get classes up, because I've got a lot of people asking where I'm teaching, and I've been doing it all live and traveling so much and running courses. And now obviously like I can't do that everywhere. So I'd love to get some of that out there and add some meditations in as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's awesome. I'm just it's a real pleasure to meet you, because you're the kind of, you know, you just bring something different to what we've had on the show before. I don't know, is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know about the journey of BJJ, about yoga? Is there anything that you think that like that you think really, is it something that you've discovered that you think everybody should really know if they're studying BJJ? Because most of our listeners are BJJ people. So what do you think is the key thing for you that just blows your mind when you think about it? Something you've discovered along your journey?
Something about jiu-jitsu, about BJJ?
About life, about how life relates to jiu-jitsu, about how yoga, whatever you like. Just, is there something?
Yeah, something big. Yeah, there is something really big. I'm in my Ayurveda practitioner training this year. Ayurveda is like a sister life science to yoga, and that's all about, I was mentioning it briefly before, but it's all about balance And it's like what you do, your routine, your daily practices, the time you wake up, what you eat, like when you train, that this is all included in Ayurveda. And something that came up for me recently was just doing an analysis of myself and when the best time is for me to train. So, you know, sometimes like this is not available to everyone because your gym might not have, you know, morning, lunch and night classes, but fortunately where I am, we do. And I actually find the best time for myself to train, which fits in alignment with the Ayurvedic principles for my body type and my personality, is between 10 and 2. So we have competition training at 10 a.m. and we have lunch classes at midday every day, Monday to Friday. And that's when I feel the most energized, like it's the best time for me to train. I can do my active recovery afterwards, you know, or in the evening. And then I wind down at nighttime and I have a really good sleep. So I sleep really well. So the time that I train and where I put my energy, that's actually a huge thing for me. And if you don't know about that, it's maybe something you haven't thought about before. It's like, well, I'll just go to any class. But yeah, so the time of training and my routine as well. So making sure that I have a really good sleep, that totally affects my training. It affects everything, like my work, my mind, my training, my body. So sleep is like so important when I train, and how much recovery I do.
Beautiful. I totally agree. And you're right. Like to people who've never considered the time of day they trained or experimented or mixed that up or just seeing, like for me, I know when I train at night, I have a crappy night's sleep. So similar to you, like I really operate between 10 and 2 as well. And that's my ideal time. I will be opportunistic and grab a class from somewhere else every once in a while if I need to, but I'm with you. It's taken me a long time to dial that in. And there'll be people who've never considered that yet. So thank you.
Yeah. And the other big thing is probably, just knowing that, you know, it's really about the long game. Jiu-jitsu. It's not like, you know, you can have short-term goals, you know, wanting to compete or, you know, get to a certain level or really understand a concept or a technique. But for me, it's like, it's the long game. Like I want to do jiu-jitsu forever. It's longevity. So having discipline, really training my mind, my mindset, having a positive mindset about my journey, that's also such a big thing for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tarah, well, thank you so much for your wisdom. I personally feel much wiser. I don't know about you, Anton, and hopefully our listeners will too. I've just learned so much from you. I mean, I was expecting a pretty good one. So, yeah, thank you for sharing with us about yoga. And as you said, it's something that is very relevant or very good for most jiu-jitsu practitioners. So hopefully if any of our listeners out there were not already practicing yoga, this podcast might convince them to maybe head in that direction because, you're doing amazing work there. Thanks, Tarah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, such a pleasure to be here. And I hope I can share some of that, you know, positivity and that connection between the two because, they really changed my life, having yoga and jiu-jitsu in my life in this way.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you. If we don't see you on the jiu-jitsu mats, we'll see you on the yoga mats.
Yeah, awesome. Look forward to meeting you, Anton, and training again, Kim. Thanks so much for having me.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.